Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. I want to start right away into the question regarding what is called the adverse effect wage rate. I don't know what adverse effect means, but nonetheless, it is adversely affecting us in Nebraska. The adverse effect wage rate is $13.41, the highest in the country. The reason this is a difficulty is, I'll give you a story. Two small farmers came to see me recently. They are specialty crop farmers, and they use the H-2A visa program for help. They're trying to do this way, and yet they are being effectively penalized by this peculiar determination by the department that the adverse effect wage rate is $13.41. Now, right next door in Iowa, it's $12.22. Next door in Minnesota, it is $11.49. In Colorado, it's $10.89. In California, it's $11. That means that they cannot compete based upon an artificial statistic that is coming out of the department in conjunction with the Department of Labor. So I want to know what is the methodology for this. I want you to know the impacts that this is having. I would like to see this re-examined as quickly as possible, because this is not a matter of taking months and months to unpack something that is buried deep in the department. It is affecting farmers on the ground right now who are trying to do exactly what the department is asking them to do by developing traditional means of production, creating local foods markets, entering into a field of, again, agriculture that has diminished over the years but now is re-emerging. That's exactly what we've been trying to do in agriculture to augment the ag family. But it seems to me that we are artificially penalizing them by this very high wage rate in creating an unlevel playing field for them. I don't know. I surmise that having North Dakota at the same rate has to do with something that is related to oil field worker salaries. So that has created an artificial demand in the northern part of this, again, artificial grouping of states, an artificial demand for labor that is completely inconsistent with what the reality is on the ground in Nebraska and in the surrounding states. I mean, even in Oklahoma, it is a little over $10. So I'd like this addressed, please, as to what this is, how it is determined, how we fix this so that it is more fair, but quickly, because we are undermining one of the department's goals here by a statistics that's generated through some process that is unfamiliar to me.
Well, I had not heard about this particular statistic until very recently. It is derived from a survey that the National Agricultural Statistics Service does called the Farm Labor Survey. And Dr. Clark could give you a brief overview of the methodology, but also if you would like a more in-depth consultation, we'd be happy to.
Well, I'd like it fixed. I mean, that's the reality. I don't think this is fair. How we are grouped all the way with, again, oil field workers in Nebraska. Why is this happening? Again, it is inconsistent with the department's goals to promote this form of agriculture, and you're penalizing farmers, again, who are trying to do this the right way by using labor through a legal program, and I think it's fundamentally unfair.
As I said, sir, we would be happy to provide you with
information
about the methodology. We understand.
I'm questioning the methodology. I'm questioning the methodology. This is the time I have right now.
We'd be happy to talk through with you.
I could give you a few details. The adverse effect wage rate is equal to the highest of three indicators: the prevailing wage rate, the minimum wage rate, and the annual weighted average hourly rate for field and livestock workers that's published by USDA. This is a Department of Labor's regulation and for the H-2A. NASS conducts a quarterly, a semi-annual survey that provides data annually at the request of the Department of Labor. This is funded by the Department of Labor, and that's the survey that you're referring to. And generally speaking, it might be the highest of those three wage rates, so it would be used in calculating the adverse effect wage rate.
What is the minimum wage in California?
I'm not sure I could tell you that.
10. Yeah, that's about 2.5 lower than where I am. So you understand the point here?
Yes.
We have taken some sort of statistical model and applied it in real time that is penalizing farmers who are trying to do this the right way and are acting consistently with the intentions of farm programs in the department. So I think this has to be reviewed again, not with all due respect, Madam Secretary, not in my office with me, but I'd like this reviewed now back in the department to demonstrate, or at least have it reconsidered, how this is inconsistent with the reality of what wage rates are in Nebraska.
We can address the survey, but as I mentioned, it is done as a reimbursable survey at the request of the Department of Labor. So we are affected by the funding that is provided by the Department of Labor to design a survey that has the quality that you're seeking. We can have a discussion of that, but it has to be in conjunction with the Department of Labor that's funding this survey.
Okay, that's still not clear to me, what you just said. It's the Department of Labor, or is the Department of Agriculture's responsibility?
We're collecting the data. We're doing it to the specifications that the Department of Labor is providing us and the budget they're providing us. And so if the data is not at the quality...
So you have the input data. You have responsibility for the input of data to determine the outcome that the Department of Labor is using in their survey, or as a part of their...
But we're doing the
report. Survey
in conjunction with them under their specifications.
Okay, fine. We got a problem here. Okay, who's going to help me?
Mr. Fortenberry, we will certainly look into it, and I will be reporting back to you
Very quickly, please.
very quickly.
Mr. Farr, the ranking member would like to.
I just had to get about 3,000 guest workers over the border for these programs for harvest, and you have to really go through three departments. First of all, Department of Labor, USDA, and State Department. You might want to bring all three of those departments into your office and see if you can clean it up.
At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Latham, but before I do,
Current survey of honeybee production.
Mr. Fortenberry.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I want to return briefly to this adverse effect wage rate issue, simply to make my point in a little more conciliatory manner. Since becoming a member of Congress, one of my key policy concerns is how do we ensure that we have a robust agricultural sector. And that is a very broad spectrum. And production agriculture is at its heart, and that's essential. But we've also worked on trying to figure out ways to expand the ag family. And in the Farm Bill, we've had all kinds of new and emerging policies to help small beginning farmers, specialty crop farmers. So here I stumble upon a circumstance where we're doing exactly the policy outcome, and they're being affected by a strange type of statistical problem that's being generated in a cross-jurisdictional manner between the Department of Labor and the Department of Agriculture. This is why I think I'm coming across so passionately about this. I don't want to see them go out of business, and they can't compete based upon this higher wage rate, which is being foisted upon them, but is inconsistent with wage rates, I would suggest, all around us where I live. There's a grouping of states here that have disproportionately high adverse effect wage rates. It seems very peculiar given the other states where minimum wages and other, I assume, prevailing wages are much, much higher. That's why I'm saying please get to the bottom of this quickly. I understand the entangled explanation, or I didn't fully understand the entangled explanation of how this has cross-jurisdictional boundaries, but I'm just trying to get to the bottom of how we reevaluate this quickly before these farmers give it up, because they simply cannot compete based upon what's being told to them by the government in a policy that's inconsistent with other policies across the hall. So that's why I want to push this, so make this clear.
We understand, sir.
Thank you. The second issue I wanted to raise briefly is we have a wonderful community college in northeast Nebraska called Northeast Community College. They have written to you asking with their interest in becoming one of the centers for agricultural excellence, and I know that's in the Farm Bill. It's authorized in the Farm Bill. I would appreciate any consideration you can give them. They have a long agricultural tradition there. I think the initial response from you was that this has not been funded previously, but do you anticipate these centers developing in the near term?
Well, I was in Omaha in January and had the opportunity actually to have lunch with the president of Northeast Community
Oh,
College.
good.
So over
I'm sure he
lunch-
told you what I just told you.
Yes, yeah, and they have a great concept for the development of agriculture as part of the college curriculum. At the time that we met, what I was referring to was that there was a provision in the 2008 Farm Bill for centers of excellence. We were unable to use that authority as it had been enacted without an appropriation to go with it. With the new Farm Bill, there's additional language that Dr. Ramaswamy and his team
He knows a lot about Nebraska.
have been thinking through how they are going to implement this new authority. So, Sonny, you want to talk about your current thinking?
Right. Thanks very much, Dr. Witecki, and thank you, Congressman Fortenberry. Good to see you again, sir.
Thank you.
And indeed, within the AFRI program, the Agriculture and Food Research Initiative, we have an opportunity to create these centers of excellence. And so we have a team of individuals that's putting together the approach that we're going to take. And as you likely know, Deputy Secretary Krista Harden is helping us look through the Farm Bill and how do we approach these things. And we're putting together as we go forward. And I can't tell you a lot more because we're still developing it. It could potentially offer an opportunity. I don't know. I mean, in this particular case, I've read the letter as well. And I've spoken with a lot of other community colleges as well about the possibility of engaging them in creating the pipeline of young people that needs to come into the agricultural workforce, the scientific disciplines, et cetera. And as it's been construed in the language in the Farm Bill, it is more about offering funding for research enterprises, research and education enterprises, if the community college in Nebraska partners with the University of Nebraska and Lincoln, Iowa State, and others as a member, a consortium, as it were. They'll be able to participate in this as well by themselves for the land that they've got that they'd like to utilize in offering education and research sorts of opportunities. In and of itself, I don't know if they'll be able to be competitive. So it might be a separate conversation with them and connecting them with Ronnie Green and others.
That's absolutely fair answer, because we do an extraordinarily large amount of agricultural research through the university system, and we're proud of that. And I somewhat anticipated that might be a potential outcome here, but I did just want to raise the issue for your awareness. So
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
As we conclude, I'm going to go ahead and recognize Mr.